The new nested blocks architecture makes it so much easier to get the exact designs you want. The downside is that it can come with a lot of setup. Luckily, there's some little tips and tricks that can help you speed that up dramatically. First and foremost, copy and pasting. There's many examples of like setting things up and creating as you go that you want to maybe modify slightly or change as you go or move things around. And so there's lots of little tips and tricks just to do that in the theme editor that are really great. So, okay, one, we can just do like dragging and dropping is like the easiest. And so say like here, I just want to move this out. You can see now that there's no padding, like it's outside of the group. And then I can also drag it into another group sometimes. Now you can see the stars. So you can, I'm just showing you this just to know that you can like drag and drop things. It just makes it that much little bit faster, but that's not the most exciting part of this, but it is a little bit cool. I do think copying and duplicating blocks are some of the most useful things to know now because say for instance, in this section, I've created like 3 review little templates that are all extremely similar to each other. And they're kind of complicated because they're groups within groups. So I have the outside group and then the inside group, and then I have 3 sections. And then this is, you know, has all the information. And then I just spent a lot of time like fiddling with all of the settings and just making sure everything's exactly right. And, you know, maybe I've been fiddling so long I forget what everything was even. And it's kind of annoying to have to go do that again. So just as an example here, if I just delete these 2, now I just have the 1, and this is set up like exactly how I want it. You can just go here and you can just say duplicate and then duplicate again. Now I'm back to having the 3. Now they're exactly the same, but it's a lot easier to just go in and change the content. So I'm just going to go in and change this. Now you can see that was easy, and then I can just modify from there, right? It's pretty simple. The other thing that gets a lot, I think, is when you're looking here, now I have 5 separate groups and like they're all different, right? So this one is columns, and this one actually goes up to the images here. And then this is this so that we can, and the group is really nice to like separate the blocks into like different designs or whatever, but it can get a little bit confusing. So what I like to do, also what you can do when you go in here, you can edit the name. And so I keep the name, but then I just put like dash photos. And now you can see it's like a much easier to understand where I am in the theme. Add to cart. And I mean, this is just for you. So it's just like whatever is the easiest. And then, and as you're going, it just, now I've made it a lot easier to look at what I'm doing, make changes, understand where these changes are. And I have, instead of, I just have to spend the time to create one and then I can just duplicate them. That just speeds up time because oftentimes you're doing things that you want to duplicate, even if it's just similar enough, and then you can just make changes from there. I'm always copying, pasting things. And then another thing I'm just going to show an example of is you can actually copy and paste across section. So I'm just going to give a little example of like sort of how I set things up to make things easier. So say I want to do like a group and then I want some of these things that I already have inside the group. I can just like drag them in, except for sometimes I notice that it won't let you drag in. And what I found is that if you just like add something like a text, because it kind of wants to drag in between things. So now I can just drag it in, which is a little bit weird, but it's kind of like my way to get around these things. And then I can drag this text in. And then when I'm all done, I just delete the initial thing. This is just, I'm not exactly sure why this is happening, but you know, it saves a little bit of frustration just to do that. I'm just going to create a background gradient. I'm going to change the alignment to center. I'm actually going to drag this up here, add an image, mess with the border radius, do the same with the image. And then you can see, so now I've just, you know, I've spent all this time setting something up, and say I want to like have this somewhere else, but I don't want to spend the time. I can actually just take this little group and copy it and then go over to a literal different template. And then now see I have this like banner image. I can just paste this here. Boom, now I have this. I can just get rid of this image because I don't need it anymore. And boom. That's just that saves so much development time. And like if you already have things, because usually everything's gonna sort of like look similar in a theme, you can just copy and paste across sections, which is so great. Like that's just blocks, but you can do whole sections too. So if I go back to the PDP I was working on, say I'm like, I actually really like this top section, which obviously was a lot to set up because there's just a lot going on here and like all the little intricacies. And then I can say copy, go back here, and now in here, paste in between. Obviously these are hard-coded, but I would like connect them with meta fields and then it picks up just this product. And so this is just what makes the theme editor so easy now. And like it sort of like takes away from the overwhelm because it's like, say for instance, I had this shipping set up. I might want this somewhere else. I might want to put this on an FAQ or some other page or whatever. I just already have it set up. And so now I can just copy, paste, duplicate. I find duplicating is probably the thing I do most in cases like this where I have like one section, but I want like 3, 4, 5, 6 that are so similar, but I don't want to have to spend all the time setting them up. So it's just like these tricks are going to help you not be so overwhelmed in like the plethora of options that we now have in the theme editor.